Hey.
Hello.
So, Ange, you have been with us for how long?
About 9 months. Yeah, about 9 months.
What was the reason? Why did you choose to join with us?
I think, if I'm honest, I didn't really know what I was looking for when I contacted you. I'd had a baby. I didn't feel great, and I was very aware that I wanted to be healthier. And you came off a recommendation from somebody I used to work with, and I was looking more for an in-person PT. That's why I started.
I remember when we had the call, you were looking at a personal trainer.
Personal trainer. That's basically what I thought I needed.
Yeah.
And then once and she recommended 2 or 3 people, so I had a call with a couple of people, then I had a call with yourself, and obviously you explained that, look, the personal training's there if you want it. Luckily, we live in the same city for now. However, potentially this isn't what you really need.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it was a completely new thing to me that somebody. I know that nutrition is massive, but I didn't realise how important it was. But I think we just clicked, and I think the good thing was from the first call, what I definitely sort of got from you straight away is you will make this work for me and my lifestyle. You're not going to give me something and say, right, follow this, and if you don't follow this, well, tough luck. It was very much a case of, yeah, we can build it to what works with you. So around children, around work, the fact that I have home gym equipment and I knew I wouldn't get to the gym. So yeah, no, never been to the gym. I mean, I went to the gym the other day. If I'm honest, it was a very scary place. I much prefer my home gym because
your home gym is growing as well, isn't
it? Yeah, the home gym is getting better and better. I went to the normal gym and thought, I could probably get one of these for the home gym. But I think realistically, had my plan had needed me to go to the gym 2 to 3 times a week, or even once a week, I wouldn't have been able to do it, and I know that for sure, because even now to try and still fit things into evenings and stuff, it doesn't happen for me. So my time is 5 o'clock in the morning, and that's just become a normal for me. But I think, as I said, as soon as I said that to you, there was no pushback on that. You didn't say to me, but actually it would be great if you went to the gym, or it was like, yeah, fine, no worries, send me your equipment. So definitely, as I said, I spoke to only 2-3 people, but after I spoke to you, I think I'd pretty much decided. And I think, as I said, it was for me, you understood what I wanted, and I had the confidence that you'd make it very doable for me, which was the key thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And before you started with us, how were you feeling in yourself?
So, I think we've spoken about this before, but I don't think you realise how you feel really until you're kind of coming out of it the other way. So I think because when you're in that, so for me, I felt, or clearly when I look back at photos now, I wasn't comfortable in my clothes. I wasn't comfortable in myself, and I think it affected my confidence, not externally. So everybody that knows me, I think, would never have thought that I was low. But I know, for example, we went on holiday a year ago, and packing for a holiday was the worst. And if you ask Ravi, my husband, he used to dread it that night before we went away, because I would be taking out every single piece of clothing I own, plus every single thing that I'd bought. Everything I bought looked horrible. Everything I owned, I didn't feel, and I'd go into him and he'd go, it's nice. And I was like, no, that's not the reaction I want. And then, I'd get through everything and I'd be left with basically nothing. And I'd think, well, what am I going to wear? And it's like that. I guess I've never really thought about it until now, where again, I know I've messaged you where I went shopping a couple of weeks ago, and every single thing I took into the fitting room, firstly, it's like 2 sizes smaller than I've ever had, but also everything looked nice. And I thought, and I was only not buying things because I thought, well, I don't really know if I need it, or it doesn't suit me, as opposed to that doesn't fit, or it's unflattering. Yeah. So I think it was affecting me much more than I realised. I think also I just almost, accepted that that's how I look now. Yeah. And that this is it. Like, I'm now, I now buy a size large or extra large. The days of being a 10 are out the window, and I'm really a 14, and I should really be a 16. I went to get my bra fitted, and I nearly fell over when she told me the size, but I thought, well, that is what it is. And then, so I think all of these things, although probably not outwardly making me look like I was low, I just didn't feel like myself. And it was massively affecting my confidence. And I think it was massively affecting, taking pictures, or like, you know, everyone always says when you've got children, like, oh, your husband should take loads of food, partner take loads of pictures of you. And Ravi would, and I'd look at them and I'd be like, oh my God, delete that. Or I would delete them myself.
Yeah.
And so I think that's when you realise that, no, this is actually affecting you a lot more than maybe you're
what
letting
you realised
on.
before.
100%, yeah.
I think as well, like I think I've said this to you before when I spoke to Ravi about your more recent holiday to New York.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, did you have a nice time? He was like, oh, it was amazing. And the first thing that he said, above anything else, was, it was so nice that we could just go out for dinner and Ange just knew that she felt good.
Yeah.
And there was no like, do I look okay in this? Or
Yeah.
questioning things. It was just, and that for him was actually like the highlight of his holiday, was that just to see
100%.
you actually feeling good. I was like,
Yeah.
bless him, that's so cute.
And you know, the thing is, like, he has never, truthfully, like me coming on this journey or me deciding to do something was he's never said anything. And I had a lot of bad habits, and I, you know, generally, and I've had them for a long time. I think the thing for me, again, and I've said this to you, but I look and feel now better than I ever have. So it's not because I've had 2 children, you know, or because it's not like, oh, I felt like this, I felt better when I was 30 and now I'm back to that. I know I look and feel better than I did when I was 30.
Yeah.
And so I think, like, but it's just because how I've been forever. And I think when you're young, your metabolism's quick, you can get away with things a lot more. And then obviously 2 children and it all catches up with you.
Yeah.
But he has never said to me, maybe you need to think about this, or have you thought about, you know, but I think he felt it massively because he could see, you know, he could see my lack of confidence. And Ravi and I have been together for, I think this year it would be like 19 years or whatever. And I think last year was the worst in terms of how I felt, because I remember saying to him one day before a holiday, because he was obviously losing a bit of interest in me showing him all these outfits.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, everything's fine, just, you know, whatever. And I literally remember crying, saying, do you not think that, can you not see how insecure I am? That, like, in all these years of knowing me, how many times do I ever ask you what to wear?
Yeah.
And it's got that bad now where I won't even walk out the door.
Without
I'd send
double
pictures to
checking.
my sister if Ravi wasn't there. I remember FaceTiming my youngest sister, who's a medic. She was working in hospital, and I FaceTimed her to show her my outfit. And I was like, is this okay? Just to go into town.
Yeah.
And I was like, and so, you know, and so I think with Ravi, I think, again, he never said anything, but that it must have been obvious to him as well. But like, oh, well, it would have, you know, that like she's not herself. So I think, yeah, when he now sees me just get ready, even
That's
today,
like amazing for him to
yeah,
see
like
that.
I didn't ask, you know, like, and I wouldn't usually ever, but I have been. But today I just put this on. I thought, yeah, this looks nice. I feel good in it, and I just walked out the door.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, he's noticed a huge change, and it must make his life much easier now that I'm not pestering him all the time. What about this? What about? He's like, I don't care. Like,
It looks good,
exactly,
but it's on repeat.
yeah.
Oh, bless him. But no, it's lovely, and he's just been like so supportive, hasn't he, as well?
100%. And I think that's when people have asked me, like, oh, has it been hard? Or and for me, it hasn't been difficult. Obviously, there's a massive level of commitment, but I think once you start to see the results, you kind of forget anyway.
Yeah.
But I do think it's made a huge difference that he's been with me every step of the way. In that, you know, day one when that meal plan comes in, and that's not food that we would buy or eat, and I've not, you know, and whatever. And I'm like, right, this is what I'm eating now. And instead of, you know, being like, oh, I don't want to eat that. No, you know, I want to eat something else or whatever. He was like, okay, well, that's what we'll both eat then. You know, like,
bless him.
so he, you know, he's a much better cook than I, because I rember saying this to you as well.
Yes,
the
I
other
remember
thing,
you messaging like,
yeah,
I need help, I can't cook anything.
Yeah, so this is it. I said, I was like, I need something that is not, you don't have to be a chef, or, you know, you just have basic cooking skills, so otherwise I won't be able to do it. So, you know, and this, but you know, the sauces and the pesto and stuff, it just makes it, and also it makes you can track it, right?
Yeah.
But that's not how Ravi eats. Like, Ravi actually can cook, and he's very good in the kitchen, and he's very inventive, and he can take ingredients. And so, you know, for him, then me using a jar of sauce, for example, was like, you know, I know that wasn't what he would ever
Normally
want to do, but he said, fine, if you're making dinner, that's what we'll have. And obviously he would just eat a bit more because I wasn't having like huge portions. Or sometimes he wouldn't, you know, if it was just easier to make the rice and divide by 2. And then if he had something else to eat, you know, he'd eat a bit extra of something else. But I think that made a huge difference, because if I was having to make food for the girls, food for myself, and then think about his food as well, or if he wasn't like fully in that with me, I think these things are what have made it relatively easy. But he's, massively supportive, like hugely, yeah.
And how would you say, in a sense, because you have got 2 dental practices that you guys run.
Yeah.
They are your businesses, and 2 children, one of which was really young when you started, wasn't
Yeah,
she?
I think she was 10 months old.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 months.
So how would you say, like, a lot of the time when we speak to people, it's these things are barriers to starting their journeys because they've got the kids, they've got businesses to run, or they've got really like stressful jobs, and essentially they're just really busy people. I mean, what would you say to that? How have you managed to kind of make it work and fit in with having the kids and your own business to run?
I think, honestly, you made that work as opposed to me making it work, in that you knew that. So you gave me a plan that worked within that.
Yeah.
I think that, and I remember maybe a couple of months in, I remember the workouts plus the cardio, and they were getting a bit long. Not for a normal person, like, for somebody who has a bit more time. But my routine, if you like, was to wake up at 5. So by the time we have a home gym, so 10:05, I'd be in the gym, and I knew I had about half an hour because then I would want to shower and be ready before the girls wake up, and then when the workouts creeped up to 40-45 minutes, it was just putting a bit of time pressure. But I came back to you and said, the workouts are a bit long, and it was like, fine, and you just dropped a couple of reps and an exercise, and they went down to 20-25 minutes, and it was perfect.
Yeah.
So I think you played a huge part in making it workable for me, in terms of what was sustainable, working with my routine, what I have in my home gym as well. And then and I think it's and also it's like, actually, it was a lot. Actually, it made my life a lot easier knowing what to eat, because I know I've got friends that have done similar things now. And once you start doing this, you realise everyone's doing some level of something, right? Like suddenly it's like, oh yeah, I've been with such and such, and everyone does it slightly differently. And like a couple of friends of mine would say, oh, we just track our calories on MyFitnessPal and things, and I think that's all great. Like whatever, everything will work differently for everybody. But for me, the fact that there were 6 meals, and it was pretty much, you gave me options, but I pretty much ate the same 6 meals for about 8 months.
I remember did I take your cheesy bagel off at some point? And you were like, don't take that off me.
No, you took and you keep taking my chocolate out my porridge, which didn't go down very well. But that just meant I didn't, so for example, food just wasn't a chore, and it wasn't something I had to think about. My weekly shop was the same. I could prep. We could sometimes, if we hadn't made lunch the night before, we could make lunch at 7:30 in the morning whilst the girls were having cereal, because I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew my measurements. I knew this. I knew how long everything was going to take to cook. So, and I think that is what made it super sustainable, because it just made it so convenient and easy. So I think there are several things. I think but essentially, I think you built it into my lifestyle, which made it very easy for me to follow it.
I think as well, like one of the things that a lot of women will say is, especially like yourself, kids, stressful job, etc., that the biggest thing they get out of being coached with us is it's just one less thing to have to think about.
Yeah.
It's like literally like got everything else you've got to think about, especially with running your own business, and to have that kind of taken away from you and it's just a thing to follow. Yeah. It just makes the whole process a lot easier.
And I think we can't be the only ones, like Ravi and I can't be the only couple that, at 4 o'clock, at 5 o'clock on a Monday, you're like, what should we have for dinner? Some people are so organised, and they meal plan and they food shop. Like, we've never been those people, ever. So, what should we have on a Monday? And it would be like, okay, what have we got in? Or can you pick up something on the way home? And it was almost like then from that conversation until we actually sat down for a meal, that was always in the back of your mind. But at the same time, I was then sorting the girls' dinner out, then doing bath and bed. And then my house was a bomb site. Then I was coming downstairs at 7:30, and like, now I have to start making dinner. So on Tuesday, Ravi doesn't come home till about 8:30. So obviously, realistically, there should be some food there for him. But I'm not very good with food. I don't know what to cook. I'm not very inventive. So... And it was just this, and that was a daily thing. So quite often, actually, that would end up in a takeaway. Because I'd come down, and I've worked a full day as well, and then I'd be exhausted, and be like, okay, let's just order something then. And that obviously was compounding like the weight gain or whatever. But the fact that it's like, well, we're having salmon and rice, because we always have salmon and rice. So so it's like, well, if I've got the salmon, which I know I have the salmon, and even if I don't, I know all I've got to do is pick up salmon. So I'm not going into the co-op like, oh, what shall I buy? I'm just get my salmon, get my 2 fillets salmon, come home, We got, you know, rice in the Instant Pot, salmon in the air fryer. That was a daily thing.
Yeah.
And that was it. And it was done. And it just
easy.
meant dinner was ready for him. I wasn't stressing about it for 4 or 5 hours before. And I think, yeah, so 100% think that yes, you're adding things in and you're altering your routine, doing things differently, but it's taking a lot of the pressure away.
Yeah, 100%. I think also it's just having something that you know is going to work. I think a lot of the time people will lose motivation because they're doing something, but they don't know if it's the right thing. And they can then feel like they're spinning wheels because they're putting the effort in. It's not through lack of effort, but then the effort isn't getting them the rewards that they want. And then they're just going around in circles. So I think actually having something where, you know, I know if I follow this, I always say that as coaches, we're like your sat-nav. Like you tell me you want to get there and I'm going to give you directions to get there. And all you've got to do is just follow the directions, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you say? Like I always say to people about you, I use you as an example because you're very sociable. You go out a lot. And how would you say that doing this has had any impact on your social life? How have you managed that?
I think it had an impact in that in a week, when I was started as well, and I was, you know, like super disciplined. I mean, it's super disciplined for most of it, but obviously as we got towards not the end, I guess there's never an end, but, you know, relax a little bit. But in that point, in that time, I wouldn't ever go out twice in a week. So in that way, I kind of would think, well, if I've got dinner plans on Friday, I'm not going to make dinner. I'm not going to try and fit people in because I think the problem I have is I want to see everyone and I don't want to say no to anyone. So I want to see my friends, I want to see my family, and I want Babby and I to go out and I want to take the kids out.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, if I've committed to go out with a set of friends on that Thursday, I'm not going to fit a second set in on the Tuesday because that's going to be 2 times that I'm going off plan or I'm having to be careful about what I'm having and stuff. So I think in that respect, but actually if you think about it, that's not a bad thing. Right? I shouldn't probably be going out twice a week anyway, right? So actually I don't think it's not, none of the changes I made have been negative changes. I think everything, and I say this to a lot of patients actually about their teeth sometimes, I'm like, everything that this is going to make you do is actually
going to benefit your life.
It's for the better, And I feel the same way about that. But otherwise, it's had no, I mean, you know, like we've had, I think, 2 weddings since I've been on plan, 3 holidays. It was our 10-year wedding anniversary, birthdays, Christmas. And I don't think in those moments, especially holidays, weddings, birthdays, Christmas, I did not hold back. I you know, for me, I like a glass of wine, I like a glass of champagne. And there was never a point where I was like, oh, I won't have one today. Because I'm on plan. However, my whole mindset towards food and drink has massively changed in that previously I would have a glass of wine and 1 glass would just turn into 3 because I'd just keep having it. Whereas now I'm super aware that like for me, I just like the taste. I just want to have it with a meal. I don't want 3 glasses. I was having 3 glasses because I just wasn't thinking about it. So, and in a social element, that's exactly the same. So if I went out and I'd have a couple of glasses of wine or champagne or whatever, I wouldn't just be having it for the sake of it. It's because I felt like it in that moment. But I think, and that is 100%, that's been a massive change for me, like a huge change for me.
Because now you're just becoming more aware of actually, not only is this going to affect how I look, but how it's also going to affect how I feel.
100%.
I mean, like in regards to like how you feel now in yourself, how does that differ from when you first started? Like from an energy and a clarity kind of point of view?
Like I feel, again, maybe people, if friends and family see this and hear this, they might think, oh, I don't think she looks better, but she's not. Because I think I was never the person that was like walked around with a cloud over my head. Like I've just never been that person. However, those close to me will tell you, and like myself, I am just much more confident in myself, and I'm much happier, and I feel healthier. I know I'm healthier. I feel stronger. Like I feel stronger. I feel leaner. You know, I'm like, well, I'm 16 kilos, right? Like I am carrying around 16 kilos less on my body. Like obviously, you know, I feel better. My joints feel better. And as I said, like I just feel like just a healthier person, and a much better example actually for my children as well. You know, and Ravi said this years ago. He's like, oh, you know, apparently he read somewhere that girls especially, if they see their mum working out, like that's how they should grow up, is seeing their mum exercising. Because
massively.
And I didn't really pay much attention to that, because if I'm honest, exercise wasn't a big part of my life at all. So if anything, it was like, you know, sometimes you hear these things and you will get a bit defensive and you're like, oh yeah, well, I can't be that important, you know, my kids will be fine. But you know, now you think about it, it's like, well, yeah, they see me being healthy, and we have the home gym, so they'll be in the gym with us, and they see, you know, they see me working out, and I just feel like in that respect, and you're just eating healthier, and I feel like a better role model to them as well.
I think as well, it's something that we talk about a lot, is that it becomes kind of the norm in today's society that women don't feel comfortable in their body. It's normal. It's just normal kind of talk as to, like, especially after people have had kids or they get a little bit older, and it just becomes normal to not feel comfortable in your body. But then essentially all they're doing is then relaying that to their children, that it's okay to not feel happy in yourself. Whereas actually, if the parents are being the role models and leading from the front, and it's good to actually look after yourself and
100%.
like what you see in the mirror, it has such a huge effect on kids as they grow up.
And I think as well, it's not to make excuses. I think like having children is a huge one. And you know, even now when people see me now and they're like, oh my gosh, you look amazing, and I'm like, yeah, thanks. And I'm very open, like, yeah, I've been on a massive journey, and you know, I have a coach, and she's told me what to eat for 9 months, and that's why I've done it. I'm not, you know, like, some people sometimes brush it off, oh yeah, thanks, no, I've tried a bit. And I'm like, no, this has been a process, yeah. But, you know, people always say to me then, oh, but you did just have a baby. And I think that's how we are as society as well. And so almost like a year ago, when I wasn't feeling great, and I would say that, and people would say, yeah, but you did just have a baby, which is true, that's very true. However, there are plenty of people that have children and don't gain as much. They just don't, right? So it's almost like by someone telling you that almost gives you a pass, like, oh, that's fine then, so you carry on with you. Like for me, it was like, okay, well, don't worry about the fact that you don't look great now, because you did just have a baby and you'll sort it out in the future. But it's like, no, just if when it's right for you, when the time is right and you think you can do it, that's the time to do it, regardless of where you are. And I think age, like you said, is a huge thing. So, because it was another reason that I'm 37 this year in a few months, and I know that's not old and it's not but I'm not getting any younger, right? Like before we know it, like, you know, I'll be 40, and then everyone who gets older says losing weight is harder, and you know, building muscle is harder, and all these things, and you can do it. But so that's also why one of the reasons I contacted you as well, because I was like, well, look, if I'm going to do it, the earlier I do it, the better. So how much better would it be to sort myself out now, and then by the time I hit 40, it's like I know what I'm doing and I'm in control of myself and my 100%. Body. Because you're not getting any younger, and you know, and if it becomes harder, at least I've got those good habits established as I do now.
And you know what to do.
100%.
You've almost kind of like armed with how to combat that if you do come across that. And I guess, like, to kind of like finalise with things is from a financial aspect, because being completely honest, the finance side of things when it comes to people being coached is often a huge barrier, because they kind of, it's very easy for people to spend money on things that they can see instant gratification for, but when it comes to investing in something that's not an instant gratification, it takes a little bit of work and it's going to take a little bit of time. I mean, the money that you've invested into GS coaching, how, like, would you say, looking at how you look and how you feel now, if it had been double the cost, knowing what you know now, would that have been a question for you? You know, would you pay more knowing what you know now? I
think being now where I am, I think the money's, it's all relative, and I think I don't think about the investment in that because it's like more the result. I think I completely appreciate that. Even when we had the conversation on day one, I think it's also, until you start looking into something, you have no idea.
Yes.
And you know, and like the last time I had a PT session was probably 8 years ago, and it was 20 quid for an hour, you know, but times have changed, I get that. So I think when you initially hear it, and you hear it as a figure, it can be quite, not scary, but you can think, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. But I think when you break it down into you know, what you pay, what it is sort of weekly or whatever, and how that cost is going to offset other things. And I think that's, for me, where the money that I've actually saved money by not having takeaways, by not buying food and wasting it. you know, probably by not taking that second meal out in a week, because that's going to cost me another 30 quid.
Yeah.
So once you, and you know, so I think once you actually think about and break down what that investment with you is giving you and how that will alter other parts of your life, it sort of negates it almost.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think, yeah, for me now, it's not, the finances are, it kind of like, I don't think about it. I guess at the beginning it's hard, but because you don't know what's going to come.
Yeah, because you can't see and you can't visualize what it's going to do.
Yeah.
You're kind of blindly going into something, and people are blindly going into it. They're putting their life in our hands, so to speak, and it is just kind of like, is this going to work? Is it going to fit in with my lifestyle? There's a lot of ifs and buts, but then once you can feel and see the difference, it's...
And my thing to that, if anybody asks me that, and I've recommended friends to you as well, and I've recommended you guys, like, very happily recommended. However, I've caveated every recommendation with, but you've got to be committed. And I think, unfortunately, like lots of us, and I was probably like, you know, you just want something easily. It's not going to come easily. Like, you provide the tools and you make it very easy to fit into your life, but it's got to be a commitment.
You've got to actually do it.
So it's only pay if you're going to do it, right? If you're not going to do it, then it could cost you half the price, and it's still going to be a waste of money.
Yeah.
But I think if you take the finances out and more think, well, I'm ready to make that commitment now. I think you know, and you know you'll be committed, then you know you'll get your results. And I'm very confident that with that, if people come to you guys, they'll get the result. If they follow what you said, there's no way you're not. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're not getting the result, you'll change it. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah,
you know?
that's it. You will get the results.
Yeah.
Come hell or high water,
absolutely.
we will get you there.
Yeah,
no way. No, that's been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
No, thank you.